The girl who returned to my class today has been missing since 1992. I still feel the ghost of it, a phantom throb deep in the gray matter behind my skull. It's the first thing I notice when I wake up, and the last thing I feel before I drift into whatever passes for sleep these days. A hot pulse where that thing's vein connected to me. They say when you lose a limb, your brain still feels it there. A ghost arm reaching for a ghost cup. My phantom limb is a memory of violation. It's been 3 days since the nurse took the girl, and the feeling is only getting stronger. It woke me this morning, that familiar throb just before my phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a number I knew better than my own. My wife. Ex-wife. Her voyeur was on the line too, a disembodied voice talking about asset division and signatures. I tried to picture her face, the curve of her smile, the mole just beside her left eye. Nothing. A blur. Like trying to remember a dream seconds after waking. We'd known each other since we were kids. Built a whole life. Now she was a phantom limb too. An ache where a person used to be. The drive to that school is a nightmare of winding mountain roads and shadows that play tricks on you. My phone rang again. This time, it was just her. "Cause," she said. My name sounded wrong in her mouth. Brittle. "Yeah. Are you okay?" The concern in her voice felt like a punch to the gut. Real, after all this time. "Does it matter?" I asked, turning into the school's long gravel driveway. "You're not here." Silence. I could almost hear her thinking, trying to find the right words that didn't exist. "I have to go," I said, killing the engine. "Work." "Casimir," she started, her voice cracking. So much she wanted to say, I could feel it through the phone. Fear, regret, a desperate, clawing doubt. But all that came out was, "Take care of yourself." I hung up. Some things, when they break, can't be glued back together. You just have the pieces. The heavy door hissed shut behind me. Whoosh. The lock engaged with a heavy final thunk. A pocket of pressure popped in my ears as I walked down the stairs into that silent basement classroom. The cycle starts again. I was early. I sat at the teacher's desk, pretending to look at a lesson plan. But all I could see was that little girl's face. The way her dark curls framed her pale skin. The impossible oldness in her eyes. The terror. The way she looked at me with something like pity as the nurse led her away. The kids filed in after recess, their usual quiet, watchful selves. And then the air went thick. Heavy. The kind of electric stillness that comes right before a lightning strike. I didn't have to look up. I knew the nurse was standing in the doorway, a hulking silhouette against the dim light of the hall. A smaller shape stood in front of her. The little girl. Zosime. She stumbled forward, not like a child walking, but like a puppet with tangled strings. Her movements were jerky, unnatural. She collapsed into the empty chair in the third row, her head lolling to one side. She looked hollowed out. I wanted to run to her, to check if she was breathing, to see what they'd done. But I could feel the nurse's gaze on me, a physical weight, a dare. It was testing me, waiting for me to break one of their fucked up rules. I remembered the paper they gave me. Wait 15 minutes. Was that the rule for this too? I wasn't sure. Pretty sure it wasn't good enough down here. I glanced at the clock on the wall, marked the time in my head, and turned back to the whiteboard. My hand shook as I pretended to write out a math problem. I could feel every set of eyes in that room boring into my back. A couple of minutes crawled by, each second a year long. The nurse's presence just faded, not like she walked away. More like she dissolved back into the shadows of the hallway. Then a sound cut through the silence. A low, wet rasping from Zosime's desk. It wasn't a human sound. It was the noise an animal makes when it's caught in a steel trap, chewing its own leg off to get free. The sound made my teeth ache, and with it came the whispers. I could hear them again, a faint, angry buzzing in the air. But this time, they weren't directed at me. They swirled around her like flies on a corpse. 5 minutes. The other children started to twitch. Little jerks of their heads, a shuffle of feet. They were reacting to her pain, or her presence. 7 minutes. Zosime let out another of those awful, rasping groans. The other kids turned to look at her in unison. A few of them started making their own noises, small whimpers of discomfort. It was like they were all connected, a single organism feeling a wound in one of its limbs. 12 minutes. Zosime looked like herself again. The strange, puppet-like stiffness was gone. I could see her face clearly, her hands resting on the desk. I wanted to scoop her up and run, get her out of this place. But I waited. The clock on the wall was the only god I had down here. Tick. Tick. Finally. 15 minutes had passed. I gave it 2 more, just to be safe. Then I pushed away from the board and rushed to her side. I knelt by her desk. She lifted her head, and my heart broke. Her eyes were swimming with tears. "Are you okay?" I whispered, my thumb brushing a tear from her cheek. The skin was ice cold. A low murmur rippled through the other students. It was a new sound, not angry, but curious. "Yes," she said, her voice a fragile thread. "It's just, it hurts." She looked at me, her expression a mixture of confusion and wonder, like she'd never seen a person act this way before. "What's your name?" I asked as gently as I could. "Zosime," she whispered. She shifted her hand on the desk. I sucked in a breath. The nails on her index and middle fingers were gone. In their place was blackened, dead-looking flesh, with angry blue veins branching out from the nail beds like lightning. Frostbite. It looked exactly like frostbite. I gently took her hand. It was cold as a stone. Her other hand was the same. She winced, but let me look. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. "You're hurt," I said, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Yes." So when someone is hurt, you help them. You try to make the pain stop. The murmuring from the other kids got louder. A boy in the front row, Aaron, raised his hand. "Yes?" I asked, not letting go of Zosime's hand. "If someone is weak," he said, his voice flat and toneless, "you help them?" "Of course. What else would you do?" The murmuring intensified, becoming a low, collective hum. Aaron stared at me with eyes that held no light at all. The weak are food. The dismissal bell shrieked, shattering the moment. The children scrambled from their seats and fled the room. Zosime was the last to leave, moving slowly, her body still tight with pain. At the door, she paused and looked back at me. A smile, small and fragile, touched her lips. It hit me then. I had never seen any of them smile. Not once. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, a ghost caught between 2 worlds. Then she was gone. Whoosh. The door side shut. Thunk. Isolde was waiting for me at the top of the stairs, bathed in the orange glow of the setting sun. She was almost painfully beautiful in that light, like something carved from marble and fire. She stepped right into my personal space. I could smell her perfume, something like night-blooming jasmine. She took my hand in hers. Her skin was cool and smooth. "You have kind eyes, Casimir," she said, her voice a low purr. "Those kids," I started, but she squeezed my hand, cutting me off. "They're special," she said. "We're giving them an opportunity, a better life." My body was screaming at me to lean in, to close the distance between us. A primal, stupid impulse I had to fight with everything I had. What kind of opportunity? Who are they? She leaned in, her lips brushing my ear. Her breath was cold. "It's a scholarship program." She let go of my hand and stepped back, looking up at me through thick lashes. "You're doing a wonderful job with them." Her hip brushed against mine as she turned and walked back into the silent school. Later, at a dingy bar downtown, Oren slid onto the stool next to me. He ordered something milky with vodka. I just wanted a beer. I had a wallet full of cash from the school. Might as well burn some of it. 2 more days. The bartender twisted the cap off my beer. Hiss. A reverse symphony. The only other cycle I knew. I pressed the cold glass to my lips, letting the bitterness wash down my throat. Oblivion sounded pretty good right now. The bartender set a carton of milk on the bar for Oren's drink. I froze. Beer dribbled from the corner of my mouth onto my shirt. "Whoa, easy there, buddy," Oren laughed. "You'll give yourself a problem." I slammed the bottle down and lurched off the stool, shoving my way out the door. A wave of nausea hit me, and I barely made it to a hedge before my stomach tried to turn itself inside out. I heaved until there was nothing left but dry, painful spasms. When I stumbled back inside, Orrin was staring at me, his drink half finished. "You okay, man?" "No. No, I am not okay. I didn't even know they still did that. Put pictures on milk cartons." My hand trembled as I reached out and grabbed it. I threw a wad of cash on the bar. "Hey, the night's young," Orrin called after me. Not for me. For me, the night was just about to end. Because there, printed on the side of the carton in faded ink, was a school picture of a little girl with dark curls and impossibly sad eyes. It was Zosime. "Missing," the headline said. But that wasn't what made the bile rise in my throat again. It wasn't the part that made the gears of the world grind to a screeching halt. It was the date printed below her face. Missing. Since September 23, 1992. The air hissed in my lungs. My ears popped. Whoosh. Click.